Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Tonight, we delve into the cold, silent heart of the unknown. We're talking about places normally filled with the roar of crowds, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, places where the echoes of life should be everywhere. But in these stories, the arenas are deserted, yet the echoes remain. 3 stories tonight, my friends. 3 whispers in the dark. 3 reasons why you should never ignore the feeling of an icy finger tracing its way down your spine. Because something is listening, watching, waiting for its moment to slither into your ear and whisper your name. Get comfortable, my friends. Turn off the lights and prepare to be thoroughly spooked. Picture this. A lone security guard, James his name was, making his rounds in a cavernous, empty stadium. The kind of place that feels like a sleeping giant, all shadows and silence. The only sound, the hum of the fluorescent lights and the rhythmic click of James's boots against the concrete. He'd been doing this job for years, seen it all, or so he thought, but tonight something felt different. A prickling at the back of his neck, the sensation of unseen eyes following his every move. He shook it off, telling himself it was just the night playing tricks on him. He reached the centre of the field, the ghostly glow of the moon casting long, eerie shadows across the empty seats. And that's when he heard it. A faint whisper carried on the breeze. He stopped dead in his tracks, straining to listen. It was gone. Just his imagination, he thought, trying to calm his racing heart. He continued his patrol, but the uneasy feeling remained, clinging to him like a shroud. As he rounded a corner, he heard it again. This time it was closer, more distinct. A chorus of whispers, hushed and urgent, seeming to emanate from the very walls themselves. Fear coiled in his gut like a serpent. He shone his flashlight into the darkness, but there was nothing there. Just row upon row of empty seats, cold and lifeless. He tried to rationalize it. The wind whistling through the stadium's infrastructure, maybe. But deep down he knew it was something else. Something unsettling, something wrong. The whispers grew louder now, swirling around him, taunting him. He could almost make out words, fragments of sentences that sent shivers down his spine. "Get out!" they hissed. "Leave! While you can—" Panic welled up inside him. He had to get out of there. He broke into a run, his heart pounding against his ribs, the whispers chasing after him, echoing through the empty stadium. He burst through the stadium doors, gasping for breath, the cool night air a welcome relief. He didn't stop running until he reached his car, fumbling for his keys with trembling hands. As he drove away, he could have sworn he saw figures watching him from the shadows of the stadium. Their eyes, cold and malevolent, burned into his memory. He never returned to the stadium, haunted by the memory of that night and the chilling whispers that continued to echo in his nightmares. He quit his job the very next day, unable to shake the feeling that something sinister lurked within those deserted stands. The stadium, once a symbol of excitement and joy, was now a place of fear, forever marked by the whispers that haunted its empty corridors. The experience changed James, left him with a bone-deep chill he could never quite shake. Some things, he realized, are better left undisturbed, lost in the silence of forgotten places, because sometimes the echoes that linger are not of cheers and applause, but of something far more sinister. Our next story takes us into the heart of a forgotten city, to a crumbling sports arena, swallowed by weeds and graffiti. This is the story of a group of urban explorers, young and fearless, or so they thought, who dared to venture into the belly of the beast. They were drawn to the unknown, addicted to the thrill of exploring the abandoned corners of the world. This arena, with its shattered scoreboard and ripped-up seats, was their playground for the night. Armed with cameras and a sense of bravado, they stepped over broken glass and rusted metal, their laughter echoing in the stillness. They documented everything, the decaying grandeur of the court, the eerie silence in the locker rooms, the lingering smell of stale popcorn and sweat. As they ventured deeper into the bowels of the arena, they noticed something strange. At first it was just a faint murmur, a distant sound that seemed to slither from the walls. They paused, their laughter dying down, replaced by a prickling unease. The murmur grew louder, morphing into a distinct roar. It was the sound of a crowd going wild, a cacophony of cheers and applause. Their blood ran cold. They were alone in the arena, they were sure of it. Yet, the phantom cheers reverberated around them, deafening, overwhelming. Fear tightened its grip. They exchanged nervous glances, their bravado crumbling at the edges. Then came the footsteps, heavy, thundering footsteps echoing from the corridor above them. It sounded like a giant was pacing back and forth, each step sending vibrations through the very foundation of the arena. One of the explorers, a girl named Sarah, pointed her camera towards the source of the sound, her hand shaking. The camera's screen flickered, the image distorted, and then for a fleeting moment they saw it. A towering, shadowy figure, its eyes glowing an unnatural red in the darkness. A collective gasp escaped their lips. The phantom cheers reached a fever pitch as if celebrating the apparition's appearance. Sarah stumbled backward, her foot catching on a piece of debris. She fell, the camera flying from her grasp, its screen cracking upon impact. The shadowy figure vanished. The cheers died down, replaced by an unnerving silence. Silence that was heavier, more profound than before. They scrambled to their feet, their hearts pounding against their ribs like trapped birds. They didn't need to speak, their eyes said it all. They had to get out, and they had to get out now. They ran, their fear propelling them forward, the echoes of the phantom cheers and the heavy footsteps chasing after them. They didn't stop running until they were far away from the abandoned arena, its silhouette a dark smudge against the night sky. As they caught their breath, huddled together for comfort, they knew they had witnessed something unexplainable, something that defied logic and reason. The experience left an indelible mark on them, a chilling reminder that some places hold echoes of events long past, echoes that refuse to be silenced. They returned to their lives, forever changed by their encounter with the phantom cheers and the shadowy figure in the abandoned sports arena. They learned a valuable lesson that night. Some doors are not meant to be opened. Some silences are best left undisturbed. Because sometimes the echoes of the past are not meant for living ears, and the things that haunt deserted places are best left undisturbed. Chapter 3. The Haunted Colosseum. Our final tale takes us to Rome, where beneath the shadow of the Colosseum, a different kind of history sleeps. This is the story of Mark, a paranormal investigator, a man who dedicated his life to communicating with what lies beyond the veil. He had heard the whispers about the Colosseum, whispers of gladiatorial spirits, of ancient curses, of shadows that moved in the dead of night. He was drawn to the challenge, to the opportunity to confront the unknown in its most primal form. Armed with his EMF reader and a digital recorder, he stepped into the arena, the weight of centuries pressing down on him. The air was thick with the scent of antiquity, of dust and stone and something else, something ancient and unknowable. The moon cast an eerie glow on the ruined walls, the shadows stretching like long, skeletal fingers. He walked the same path as gladiators did centuries ago, his footsteps echoing in the silence, a lone heartbeat in the belly of a sleeping beast. He felt a presence, a coldness that seeped into his bones, a feeling of being watched. He stopped in the center of the arena, the ground beneath his feet stained with the memories of countless battles, countless lives lost. He raised his EMF reader, its lights flickering erratically. The air crackled with static, the hair on his arms standing on end. "Is anyone here?" he asked, his voice echoing in the vast emptiness. A low growl answered him, a guttural sound that seemed to rise from the very earth itself. His heart pounded in his chest, but he pressed on, his fascination outweighing his fear. He moved towards the source of the growl, his flashlight beam dancing across the stone walls, revealing faded murals depicting scenes of brutal combat. As he reached the entrance of a darkened tunnel, the growl intensified, morphing into a chilling whisper. "Leave this place." It hissed, the voice laced with menace, with an ancient rage that sent shivers down his spine. He felt a cold, unseen hand brush against his cheek, and the stench of death, of decay, filled his nostrils. He stumbled back, dropping his flashlight. Darkness enveloped him, thick and suffocating. He fumbled for his flashlight, his heart threatening to burst out of his chest. As he flicked it back on, his blood ran ice cold. Standing before him, bathed in the pale moonlight, were figures. Their eyes glowed red, their bodies ethereal and translucent, shimmering like heat waves in the cool night air. They were the spectres of gladiators, their forms scarred and broken, their weapons drawn. Terror, primal and consuming, seized him. He turned to flee, but the ghostly gladiators moved with impossible speed, their forms flickering and shifting, surrounding him. He was trapped, their cold, spectral eyes boring into him, their presence suffocating him. He closed his eyes, bracing himself for the inevitable. But the killing blow never came. He opened his eyes slowly, his breath catching in his throat. The gladiators were gone. The arena was silent, bathed in the cold light of the moon. He was alone. He stumbled out of the Colosseum, his body trembling, his mind reeling from what he had witnessed. He had stared into the abyss, had seen the faces of the dead, and he knew that some secrets are best left buried. He left that night, forever changed by his encounter with the haunted Colosseum. He carried the memory of that night etched deep within him, a chilling reminder that some places hold echoes of the past that are too powerful, too terrifying to ignore. The echoes of these stories, my friends, will stay with you long after the video ends, because the truth is we are all just visitors in a world far older and stranger than we can possibly imagine, a world where the line between reality and nightmare can blur in a heartbeat. If you enjoyed tonight's journey into the darkness, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe for more terrifying tales, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. And remember, my friends, keep the lights on. You never know what might be listening in the shadows, waiting for its chance to whisper your name.